Let me see. There we go. Now my microphone appears to be working. Hey, everyone. Welcome to another edition of The Bullet. My name is Paul Lathrop. I am the Deputy Director of New Media for the Second Amendment Foundation. Supposed to be joining me today, and he just sent me a text. He's pulling into his neighborhood. So hopefully he'll be here in a few seconds. Mike Piwowarski from The Rundown is scheduled to be joining us, and he should be here momentarily. While we're waiting for him, I want to remind you that you can join us. You can comment on our video either on Facebook or on YouTube, and we'll talk about your comments on the air. Or if the fastest, most reliable way to get your comment on the air is to tweet with the hashtag BulletPodcast. That gets to us immediately, and we will get your comment up and discuss it on the air. Let me get Facebook hooked up here as we wait and get that turned on. There we go now. So I'm just waiting for Mike to get up. And to be very honest with you, it's been an extremely busy day for me. I haven't been able to do a whole lot of show prep as far as research on news stories. So it's going to be a little bit of rehashing what we've done over the last few days. One thing that I've been thinking about a lot today and has been going over social media is the officers in the Texas school shooting have been getting a lambasting in social media. And some people would say they should be getting a lambasting. I'm a little bit on the fence there. And the reason I'm a little bit on the fence there is because I kind of know a little bit how schools are constructed, and schools, especially in this area, are constructed to withstand tornadoes. Now, they have steel frame doors and steel doors and steel frames for the doors. So if somebody gets in there, gets the door locked from the inside, it's not exactly like you can put your shoulder to the door and open the door with just a force of a shoulder, or even kick the door with your boot and force the lock open. You're going to need more than that. Should the police department have those tools available? I believe they should. Should it have taken an hour to get inside the school? Yeah, probably not. But it kind of is what it is. I wasn't there. Obviously, I was when this happened. I was in Atlanta covering the mingle at the Complete Combatant range, and so. But I've never been a police officer, but knowing some about the construction of those schools, it's not going to be very easy to immediately get into the school when there is something like that where you have to try to get in. I do see logging in, and he appears to be up and ready to go. We're going to jump to him and see if he is ready. Mike, are you there? Is Mike? Hey, man.
I am here, sir. I'm here.
We're just taking off. I started the one thing I was going to start is there's been a lot of hate going towards the officers at the I believe I'm saying this right, Uvalde, Texas Police Department, who took an hour to get into a room. And I was trying to explain that, you know, even elementary schools, man, if they're built to withstand tornadoes, they have bulletproof glass for windows. They have steel frames for the doors and steel doors. Not exactly something you can throw your shoulder against or kick in the door. You need breaching equipment to get inside those doors.
Yeah, and you know what? They all have those in their police cars, and if that's the excuse they're using now, it's just more lies they're throwing at.
Okay.
Listen, I don't know how deep you want to go into it. You know my law enforcement background and the history on.
You're far more of an expert than I am, so okay. I'll go as deep as you want to go, dude.
The history on this, Paul, and you know the names, you know the dates. Columbine prior to Columbine, the policy was to get the units on the scene, surround, and wait for the SWAT team. After Columbine occurred, they brought that down to, okay, listen, these guys were just tooling around there, shooting people, waiting for us to come in before they ended up doing themselves, like most bad guys do in these type of scenarios, right? So they brought it down to first 2 officers on the scene, get together, buddy team up, go inside, movement to contact, find the bad guy. Must seize the initiative to stop the killings. Then we have Newtown, Sandy Hook Elementary, and we know that there were 7 minutes there, right? And about half of that time was before the police were even called, and the other half of the time was when they responded. So even with that 7 minutes, and they waited 3.5 minutes to get the second officer on the scene, half of those children were killed while waiting for the second officer. The policy was then changed to first officer on the scene gets behind his badge and goes and makes entry. All right, you don't wait anymore. These killings stop when you stop the killings. That's how it happens. So you got to get inside that building, do a movement to contact, find the bad guy, and put him down. That's the only way that we know to stop this. We've had 2 huge failures that we've seen in the past couple of years in law enforcement policy. One was at Pulse nightclub, where the initial responding lieutenant got on the scene and said, wait for backup. 49 people were killed while cowardice stood outside the door. In the supervisor form, many officers walked around the back and were trying to kick the door in before being stopped by the supervisor. And the same thing occurs here at Uvalde at the police department there. Initial responders get there. Supervisor says, wait for the SWAT team. Now, the one thing I could tell you, having been to war and combat, been in cop for many years, is that cowardice can be contagious. And when the first guy says, you're not going in there, the second guy goes, okay, well, I didn't make that decision, so I won't go in there. So, it starts to move down the line. Well, I'm not going in because they're not going in. They said not to go in. So everybody takes the comfort in that they didn't make the decision not to go in. Meanwhile, you've got people inside dying. I know they've already changed their story a couple of times and said, oh, it wasn't an active shooter, it was a barricaded suspect. Well, you know the difference between a barricaded suspect and an active shooter? A door, right? And you already got several doors you go through to get in there. And Paul, I know that these doors, depending on this school, had at a minimum, we know, had fire standard doors, those metal doors, those thick doors, those thick walls, because there hasn't been a death in a school from a fire since 1955, when we did national legislation for physical security infrastructure for schools and public schools. We could do that for active shooters also, but we don't. We'd rather play the politics game with that and let children die. But my belief here, having looked at everything else, is that these cops got there, and the police chief actually said at one point, we didn't send cops in because we were afraid they were going to get shot. Evidently, he didn't have any fear of children taking bullets, just as officers. And I'm sorry, you need to, if you're a cop and you get to the door and there's gunfire on the other side and you can't go through, take your badge off, put it on the ground, go home. Let somebody else give it a shot, because the job's not for you.
I would absolutely, totally agree with that. And we've had multiple cases reach the Supreme Court, and it's been decided many times. The police are not there. Their job is not to defend you. They have no duty to defend you. However, I'm going to say when there are children involved, if you're not willing to go that extra step, right, then you do not need to be a police officer.
And let's be clear, I mean, we're referring to Castle Rock versus Gonzalez, where it says the police do not have a duty to serve and protect, basically, to be the protector. The specifics of that case, Paul, were a domestic violence case where threats had been made and an injunction was in place. And the woman said she felt threatened and wanted the police to come protect her to keep him from harming her. And that's when the police and the court sided with them and said, no, we don't go sit in front of your house because of a potential future crime. That's the difference. What happened at Uvalde, what happened at Pulse was crime in progress that police turned their back on.
Yep, let me get, we're getting comments in here. Let me get comment. John's agreeing with you. He says, Mike, you're right 100%. George is checking in. He says, howdy, Patriots.
Patriot friends. Love them all.
So yeah, I'm and let's be honest, the Uvalde, I mean, despite the fact that it's been a period of time now. This is still the major story in the United States. I read on Twitter, honestly, that the chief of police of Uvalde and the school police department have stopped cooperating with the Texas State Department of Investigations.
Right.
That's okay.
Listen, everybody has the right to remain silent, right? And there's a police officer bill of rights in Texas as well, I'm sure. But when all you're doing is standing in the hole looking up, it's time to stop digging, okay? And I think that's what they finally did. And I think there's plenty of people there that don't want to be, listed as the coward. And they're finding it very difficult because, like I said, as soon as it starts going down the line, I'm not going in. It wasn't my decision. Well, I'm not going in either then, I guess. That's it. Now, I'll tell you what spreads quicker than cowardice, though, is bravery. When that first guy in the line says, I don't care what the boss says, I'm going in, everybody else goes with them as well. But it's a group mentality thing, and that's a lot of the way it is with soldiers, too. It's not about the fight against terrorism or the fight for, freedom. It's about, fighting with the guys left of me and right of me because we all want to go home together.
Yeah. And thank goodness for the barber who happened to have a 12-gauge shotgun he could lend.
I can't wait until somebody comes out with the 28-inch tactical shotgun now, because this guy just did it. The duck gun with a laser and a rail system,
Yeah. Just wow. I on one hand, I believe everybody should be armed, and good on the barber for having an arm there, but 12 gauge for a barber shop. Okay, well, all right.
Well, that's what you get, right, in a constitutional carry state. Here's the other cool part about this, if you think about it. Well, not cool that people died, but it could have been, right? The part that they screwed up in Texas, Let's go back to the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas High School shooting, right? 129 faculty and staff there. If we go by the numbers in Florida, it's about 22 million people, of which about 19 million are eligible to carry a firearm. We know that 2 million have licenses. That's not just ownership, that's concealed licenses. So at a minimum, we know we got about 15 people out of that 129 in Florida that were licensed to carry concealed. And there's 11 buildings there that they had to get through to get to the bad guy. You think if there were 15 teachers carrying it, that shooting would have carried on the way it was? Absolutely not. Now let's move over to Texas, right? And I'm just going to throw the number out because I haven't seen the number yet. This is a smaller school, an elementary school. 50, let's say 50 faculty members, staff and adults, right? If it wasn't for that gun-free zone sign, do you know how many people in that school were eligible to carry a firearm?
Were eligible? Oh, eligible. I'm going to say, out of the 50, I'm going to say probably 45 to 48.
I would probably go as high as say 100%, because we don't have felons working at schools, and it's a constitutional carry state. Yeah. So 100% of the staff there could have been carrying a firearm, except Texas still has that gun-free zone sign hanging in front of a school. How do you explain that to your legislature next time you go around and say, we tried to pass this last time and you said no, and now there's 22 dead?
Yeah. And by the way,
you said to depend on the police. You said we should depend on the police. Look what happened there.
Amen. We'll get to comments here in just a second, but I also want to point out the Gun-Free School Zones Act. Guess who was instrumental in getting that shepherded through the Senate? One Joseph Biden helped get that through the Senate. Then George says, do we know who finally went in? I saw that it was an off-duty border patrolman with a borrowed shotgun. That's what Mike and I were alluding to. Yeah. The borrowed shotgun was from a barber.
And he was getting a haircut, or in line to get a haircut, and got a text from his wife, who's a 4th grade teacher there, and his daughter is a student there. And he got up, and the barber said, take my shotgun and go, and that's what happened.
Yeah. Pete over at Gun Website says, the guy who went in was BORTAC, kind of like SWAT for Border Patrol. Off duty, his wife, the teacher, called him. He ran over from Barbara, is how I heard it. So, yeah.
Yep.
So, and we'll get, when more comments come in, we'll discuss them. But I want to, Mike, I want to see the reversal, and it's not going to happen today, but I want to see the reversal of the federal Gun-Free School Zones Act. I want to see actually a federal FASTER Act where teachers are encouraged to be trained and encouraged to carry. Let's be honest here. If you have a teaching certificate, you've got to have a little bit going upstairs. You can't be a total imbecile and get a teaching certificate. So they got a little bit of brain power if they've got the, what am I trying to say? If they've got the and my words
they get the wherewithal to do it. They've got they understand. This is not, and like you said, nobody's. We talk about arming teachers. Nobody's lining them up and issuing them shotguns when they come to school. This is those that want to volunteer. And listen, like you said, FASTER does it. Our friends up there, Jim Irvine, Angela Miller, they do an incredible job up there. Mm-hmm. And it's not just guns to teachers. It's combat first aid, right?
Yes.
Because guess what happens? When bullets start flying, people start to get hurt. We know that a lot of these standoffs, and it's going to be found out that I'm sure as well here at this school, that people died while they bled out waiting for the police to come in. We know that happened at Pulse. We know it happened at in Columbine. It's a travesty. So why not? Why not allow them to teach? How many of those teachers are former military or retired cops or just somebody that understands the Second Amendment and carries and defends themselves every day? Why is there this lousy line on the ground that says you could kill my children past here? It's okay.
Yeah, 100%. See here. George says, where are we at? Here we go. We should replace all the police stations with barber shops.
Yeah, right? There you go. I want to see them slick sides. Spell nothing but Ben Gain here. Here we go.
So let's. I want to pivot a little bit here. What else should we be talking about, Mike? I mean, we've covered 17 minutes on this topic so far.
I want to interview you, Paul. I want to find out how NRA show went because I got caught and was unable to go. I want to know what the crowds and what the traffic were like there.
Crowds were. It was a lightly attended, but let's face it. It was Memorial Day weekend, and so you kind of had to figure going in that there was going to be a light attendance because everybody has plans with family for Memorial Day. And so it was not unexpectedly somewhat lightly attended. There were, and anybody who follows me on Facebook or Twitter knows this, I was posting updates. There were protesters there. They were very loud, but unlike in Portland, unlike in Minneapolis, unlike in a lot of other cities, they were honestly peaceful protests. And I was appreciative of that. There was a huge police presence by not only the Houston Police Department, there was a large private security firm that was there. The state police was there. I even saw one Texas Ranger there. It wasn't Walker, but there was one Texas Ranger that I saw there. So
that's all you need for those protesters, right? One Ranger, one riot. That's all you need,
Yeah. But all in all, I saw a lot of my friends there, covered a lot of things, and had a really good time at the NRA annual meetings. I'm glad they came off, and I'm actually looking forward to going back next year in Indianapolis.
Yeah, it'd be good. Listen, they've got to get their house in order. We know that, right? And we keep talking about that.
Yeah.
And I can guarantee you, folks, listen, Paul and all the other friends in our industry didn't go there to give money to the NRA, all right? They went there to get the state of the industry, see the new products, bring you everything that you need to be brought in our industry. And we'll continue to work behind the scenes to try and help fix the NRA. I know listen, Colonel West was doing it. Alan West had been asked, and he was being involved in trying to get it straightened out, as well as many other people that were there. Doing the behind the scenes work at the meetings portion of the exhibitions, because it's the annual meetings and exhibitions. So,
right,
whereas the exhibitions is the public portion, which is great to see, and it's great to see our industry out again, traveling, thriving, showing off their product. The annual meetings part has got to get done. I think by Indianapolis next year, I think our house is back in order. I think NRA has got their stuff together, and there's probably a hostile ousting of Wayne LaPierre. I think with the birth of the movement to get him out this year by bringing in former board members, I think it's almost a done deal. I think it has to happen now. I think with the new Second Amendment group led by Donald Trump Jr., I think that's writing on the wall. Hey, we're gonna rate politicians because nobody can trust you to do your job anymore. NRA, I think the writing's on the wall. There's got to be that leadership change now.
I certainly hope you're right.
Yeah,
I did speak with a few board members when I was there, and I made the prediction on Friday that there would not be a change in leadership this year. I was right. But
yeah,
boy, you can, and almost everybody I talked to, and I can't name names, but there were big people that I talked to, and that was the first thought on their mind.
I'll say this, and listen, when you and we've known this for the years. Everybody that's in our industry knows this. It's inside baseball. But the outside folks, I'm going to the annual meetings. I'm an NRA member. Wayne said he needs a check. I write him a check. It's public now. And when you put somebody like Alan West in the front of this, and he's the one now leading the charge to say, let's put integrity and honor back into this organization, it's going to get some notice here rather quick and build steam over the next year. That's why I think with him now involved in this portion of it, by next year there's a change.
I certainly hope so. Let me get a couple comments in here real quick. I'm going to start with Pete back over here at Gun Websites again, and he says, my suggestion is to encourage mentoring and life coaching for the kids. Help them out, prevent circumstances that create issues, something we can all work together on away from guns. Pete, one thing that's absolutely got to do, we're not going to get rid of all active shooters, active killers. There are going to be mentally disturbed people out there, period. And we're not going to catch them all, simply because there are enough kind-hearted people out there that are going to give them just one more chance. Or there are enough people out there where it's just not my job to do this. Let's shuffle them on to the next person and let that become their problem. I would love to be able to say, yeah, we're gonna love all or educate or treat all the active killers out of existence. It's a great goal, but I don't think we're ever going to get there. I think what we need to do is we need to really, no kidding, harden the schools as targets, and the first step for that is arming the teachers so nobody ever gets a high score when they go to shoot up a school again.
Exactly right. I concur. Listen, the physical infrastructure is simple to do. You're just adding to the stuff that already exists under the fire standards. But like you said, the stopgap right now today is get rid of gun-free zone. Get rid of gun-free zones. Just let them go. And the teachers that are licensed to carry or can carry under constitutional carry, they get to carry. There's your solution right there. That's it.
Patrick Collins agrees with you. I don't know why these GFZ signs are out there. I hate the fact that violence in school is reactionary when all other threats are precautionary. Safety should be first.
That's it.
And I love this. Pete again. I'm going to get two of them in rapid fire from Pete. How many Texas Rangers do you need for one riot? One.
That's it. One riot, one Ranger.
Exactly. All right. Well, we are coming down towards the bottom of the hour, dude. Anything else we should be talking about?
No, I think we start looking at our event coming up in Detroit. I guess that's our next travel event, right? That we get the Second Amendment community together. Up until then, folks, continue to push your politicians. I don't care if it's your HOA, because they think they're politicians, your city council, your county, your state, your federal. Get rid of gun free. Get rid of the killing zones. Get rid of the killing zones. I've had enough, and I'm going to do something, and that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to work my butt off to get rid of gun-free zones.
Amen. I do want to mention here real quick 2 things. Number one, this month is going to be the release of the decision of the New York State Rifle and Pistol Association versus Bruin out of the Supreme Court. That's coming this month. And in anticipation of that, this coming Saturday, Alan Gottlieb is going to be joining me for the Bullet broadcast on Saturday. That's
nice.
This Saturday, noon Central Time. So if you're watching us now, you definitely want to be watching us then. It'll be Alan Gottlieb. Beth Alcazar from USCCA will be joining us, as will Craig DeLuz. Somebody you might have heard of, Mike.
I've heard of Beth. Yes, I have. Yeah.
So yeah, but it'll be a great show this coming Saturday. Really looking forward to it, and please come join us this Saturday. I think that's where we're going to go ahead and set it aside, Mike.
Yeah. Sounds great. Thanks for having me, Paul.
All right, folks, everybody, thanks again for watching. Come join us tomorrow at 5 and Saturday at noon. We'll see you next time, everybody.